Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday morning. Thanks for taking the time out of your weekend. It's interesting weekend. You got 4th of July holiday on Tuesday, but it seems like a lot of people are going to take advantage of a long weekend. And today's sort of the start of it. So again, thanks for coming out. I'll get started in about 15 seconds or so. I'm going through some last minute checks, making sure the sound is okay and everybody can hear me okay. So just bear with me and we'll get started in a second. Yeah, happy 4th, Maria. It's going to be a nice long weekend. It's one of those things where when a holiday comes on a Tuesday, I think people like to start a little bit early and make a long weekend out of it, as opposed to just a Monday holiday. Simon, good evening. Yeah, I know you're over there in Singapore. Thanks for coming out. And Chris, good. You can hear me okay. Maria, I'm in Chicago area, just about 45, 50 minutes outside of downtown Chicago. Oh, Florida. Yeah, Florida's nice, except for the mosquitoes and the crocodiles. Okay, so yeah, it looks like everything is working fine. So I'll just sort of jump right in. The Orderflows Combo Indicator for NinjaTrader 8 is, yeah, it's an indicator that we just recently actually had it coded, but it was something that I've been using in my trading for a long time. It just never dawned on me to have it coded. And over the years, one of the questions I get most is, what's your favorite trade setup? And the combo is actually based off of one of my favorite trade setups. And it combines a lot of aspects of order flow. Let me get my slides going on here. It combines the point of control, the value area, imbalances, and price action. It doesn't use delta. Okay, I'll just say that up front. In this particular setup, it's sort of delta. I'll say delta neutral, but it doesn't use delta in its analysis. And really, it's trying to identify where supply and demand comes into the market, which is going to help drive price away from the balance area. So, before I jump into the charts, I just want to sort of take you through some of the settings. For those of you that already have the indicator, some of these slides are going to look familiar. They're taken out of the user guide, but just really quick, I just want to run through that really, before I start jumping into the actual charts. Just some of the basic requirements. Now, you're going to need to use tick replay, and why is that important? Is because if you're, say, like here, this is my chart. What is this? This is a Swiss franc, 1 minute chart. If you don't have tick replay, right, you're not going to see the signals on the historical chart, or what you will see is once the market is open and it starts plotting, you'll get the signals, but you just won't see it on the previous thing. Sometimes people don't realize they don't have tick replay enabled, and if you don't have it enabled, then you're not going to see anything showing up on the historical charts, although you would see it once you open your chart and going forward. Okay, but a lot of people like to throw the indicator up and then sort of scroll back to see how it performed, but you're not going to see anything if you don't have tick replay is not enabled. So just make sure that that's enabled. Excuse me. Just really quick, some people get sort of stuck on tick replay. Like sometimes I know in the past, we got this new version of NinjaTrader that's out. There's a setting under here, market data, under the tools. You'll see it in here under historical. It says show tick replay. So if you have that, if that is unchecked, okay, if that's unchecked, when you like open up a chart or something, well, let me get a new chart here because that one's already fresh. But if I were to open a new chart, okay, you're going to see down here at the bottom, it doesn't have the enable tick replay like this other chart does, right? This one was open with it already, right? Now it's too late, it's already changed. But if yours looks like that, where it's not letting you enable tick replay, just go to the options, go to tools, go to options, market data. under properties, under market data, show tick replay. Okay, that will give you that option there, so that when you have a chart, right, it'll have that there, right? If I were to open a new chart, right, it's there. Okay, so make sure that's enabled. You know, that's just something something, maybe 1 out of 20 traders that are new to NinjaTrader sort of run into that issue. So make sure tick replay is enabled. Now, the thing with the license token, okay, now the indicator is licensed per machine, so because it's linked to the unique NinjaTrader machine ID. So if your machine ID changes, I don't need your machine ID, but if it changes, then if it changes because of a Windows upgrade or a BIOS upgrade, just let me know that your machine ID, that you just had a Windows upgrade, etc. Then I could just simply reset it. If you are changing PCs, sometimes our PCs die on us, and you need to get a new PC, then you're going to install it again. Then I would need to create a new license token. So it's really simple. Just email me, Mike at Orderflows. But what I suggest people do is, in the subject line, put new license token for Orderflows Combo, or something to that effect, right? Or reset the license token for Orderflows Combo if you just need a reset. What slows things down is sometimes, I send out emails on other things, and then people just hit reply to that, and those tend not to get responded to quickly because sometimes those get filtered out, right, based off of my email settings. So just, the best way to do it is, Mike at Orderflows, just say, reset license token for Orderflows Combo, or can, new license token, right, for Orderflows Combo. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the settings really quick. Just sort of go through your license token, right, when you open up the indicator setting. Okay, so when it's on here, okay, all you have to do, right, you go to Orderflows Combo, you drop your license token in here, hit apply. You only need to do that one time. You don't need to do that every time you open up a chart. Anytime you open up a new chart and you add it on there, you don't need to enter your license token, just one time. Okay, that's just bear that in mind. And that way you don't have to keep entering it over and over and over again. Okay, so now the individual settings, I'm just going to run through these. I'm going to show you on the charts, the adjustments you can make based off of, different types of markets, how they trade. Enable swing filter and swing period go together. That's if you want to look for swing highs or swing lows. POC filter and POC strength, these two are related. You'll notice a little check mark next to POC filter. That means it's enabled. Default is enabled, and it's set to 2, which is your normal strength. Now there are 4 levels you can set: 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 is not a level. All you have to do is uncheck it to disable it. Okay, people think that I could enter 0 to disable it. Just uncheck it. The lower you go, the stronger it gets. Okay, so the lower you go, the fewer signals. The higher you go, you're going to get more signals. If you have it disabled, you're going to get a lot more signals, obviously, because it's not taking into account the POC. Now the value filter and value strength, again, also related. To disable it, just uncheck it, right? You just click on there to uncheck it. Now there are 3 strengths, 1, 2, 3. Again, you wouldn't enter 0, and you're not going to enter something like 10 or anything like that. Just go 1, 2, 3, 3 strength levels. Default is set to 1, which is basically the minimum balancing value. 2 is sort of the average, and 3 is the maximum. Okay. Now, again, on certain markets, like slower moving markets, maybe you want to disable it, like on some bonds and grains. Now, the supply and demand filter, again, there's a check mark next to it. Default is enabled. That's why there's a check there. To disable it, you just uncheck it. Okay. And this one also has 3 strengths. You're not going to enter 0 for the strength. You would just uncheck it. Okay. Now, again, the default is 1, which is normal. 2 is a little bit stronger, and 3 is the strongest. Okay. Obviously, if you disable it, it's not taking that into account. Now, the next part is the momentum strength. Now, this one's got 7 levels. This one doesn't have a enable or disable. To disable it, you'd enter 0. Okay. 1 through 6. 1 is basically the first sign. 2 is a little bit more. 3 and 4 is around, you know, normal momentum. Obviously, 6 is going to be your strongest. You don't set it above 6; it might cause some issues. And so just keep it between 1 and 6. I keep it at 4 most of the time. Again, difference between 3 and 4 is small, but you know, on some markets it does make a difference. I would suggest either disable it or maybe have it at 1, 3 or 4 or 6. Now there's a sound alert. This question came up in an email that I got. There is a sound alert. So to enable it, you just check the box, and then again, you just go into your wherever your program files are on your PC and choose which one you want. You know, we sort of have a default one set up. Just really quick, what the folder looks like. You just click there, right? It's alert 1. But as you see, when you go into your folders, there's NinjaTrader already has some set up inside, right? So you just go into your PC where NinjaTrader, under your program files, choose NinjaTrader 8 sound folder. There's alerts, right? The alert 1 is the one. You know what some people do is sometimes they want to record a sound and then just put it in there. Maybe they got a couple of different indicators going on, and you know, maybe they want to have a different alert for each one. So they'll say, you know, they record a little sound file. If you're going to record a sound file, keep it within, you know, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. You don't want to have a long one, because if it keeps going off or something like that, it's a problem. But you want it too short. So you know, people say like Orderflows Combo or something like that. But it's up to you. I just default is set to alert 1. All right, so let's take a look at the combo in action. So again, settings are fairly simple. You know, well, again, this is a Swiss franc. Let's look at, we'll start with, I don't know, euro currency first. You know, I like the currencies. You know, people, you know, when they come to start trading futures, you know, sort of the way that people come to the futures markets is they see other people posting stuff on Twitter, on Facebook. Oh yeah, I made, you know, $5,000 on NQ today. You know, oh, maybe I should be trading NQ. There's other markets out there that often follow order flow much better than the stock indices. Currencies do nicely, bonds do nicely. You know, I think grains do, but again, you know, there's nothing glamorous about saying that you trade soy meal or something. But you know, at the end of the day, it basically just comes down to you know, what you're doing as a trader, what you want to get out of the markets. All right, so let's just add it here from scratch, and you'll go sort of take a look at the charts with the settings. And there's a few things I'm going to talk about also, like the trade entry signal and the signal box, the draw modes, right? Because people see the zones and, you know, wonder how to trade around those zones. Okay, so what do we got here? So this is euro currency. Now, no signals with the default setting on Friday. There was surprisingly no signals on the 1 minute chart. Now there was a little bit earlier in the morning, European time. You know, some nice little moves down here again. You know, from like the 108, sorry, 109.02, 03 area, all the way down to, you know, what was that? Well, down to new lows. Then you rallied up. Now you'll notice there's these zones being drawn out. Okay, some people like to have these. Now it's, even though you see oftentimes, right, a market can like come back right to a zone, like right here. It's not something that I particularly will trade. I'm not going to say, oh, I had some, you know, a signal generated up here, and then let the market sell off and come back up to that area. That's an area I'm going to get short. Really, the way I use the zones is once I see a zone being drawn out, right, like this, and then it's not tested immediately, that's an area that I like to lean on a bit more. Okay, like, you know, like this one here, or these here, these here. Now, if you don't want to use the zones, what you can do is you just go into the indicator setting, and where it says, there's 2 ways you could do it. You just change the signal box width from 5 down to 0. That should disable it. and click OK. So right, no zones, you still have the signals there, okay? Another way to do it, you know, when we first released software years ago, we had it as a fixed zone, and I would draw it out 5. So if you were to change it from fixed to 5, from until tested back to fixed, change the signal box width in bars, that's how far it draws out. And you'll see sort of these smaller zones being drawn, right? 5 price levels, or 5 bars starting from the signal bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way I've always traded that, I used to use this when I was looking at stacked imbalances back in the day, is because I'd be looking, you know, I got a signal based on the order flow. I'm looking for the market to start move away from there within 5 bars. If after 5 bars it's sort of trading back in there, that's not a signal that I'm interested in taking. So again, you could use this the zones, right, until tested or fixed, or you can disable them altogether. Again, to disable it, all you'd have to do is just change, you know, it doesn't matter what you have it on, fixed or until tested. All you have to do is this signal box width in bars, change that to 0, okay? That will disable those zones completely. Me personally, I just prefer to have it. It's just something there, you know, crutch maybe, to give me a little bit, you know, for me, you know, I find the market is very visual. You know, I want to know areas where the market is sort of running away from, okay? Now, just really quick, another thing that I want to talk about is the trade entry signal. For those of you that aren't familiar with the trade entry signal, we have it, it's its own setting inside here, and its default is enabled. And you'll see there's 2 settings in there. There's trade price level in ticks. Maximum you can do it is 5. Trade validity in bars. Again, maximum is 5. And default is set to 1 and 1. If what this means is basically, okay, you have a signal generated, right, based off the order flow. That's what the zone is going to start drawing out, like telling you, hey, you know what, there's something happening here in the order flow. Pay attention. Now, you don't see an actual signal come out until the bar completes, and in this case, something else happens in the order flow. That's why you don't see it right on the next bar. It's got something happening starting to develop here in the order flow on this bar. That's why the zone is drawn out. Then it's waiting for a bit of confirmation here. Now it's waiting for this bar to start forming and trade lower. Okay, so you see this green bar, obviously we opened up lower. Let me make this bigger. Trade lower than this red bar. So it's telling me after completion of this red bar, this next bar moved at least 1 tick from the low here of this bar. Okay, just like here, right? Something happened in the order flow, you got the confirmation, then the market starts moving down in this bar. That's why the signal is generated here. Here's another signal. Order flow is telling you there's something bearish happening. Next bar, okay, sort of that confirmation. However, there's no actual down triangle telling you there's a short here because this green candle didn't trade any lower. If I were to have this disabled, trade entry signal disabled, right, now you're going to see the signal actually come in on this bar, signal come in on this bar and this bar. So now you're getting, you know, the actual signal here, whereas before you weren't. Okay, so when people say, well, why do you use that? Well, you could choose to use it, you could choose not to use it. I use it because I'm waiting for, you know, I still want confirmation in the order flow. I'm willing to give up this one trade here, right? Even though this one, you know, for the most part worked out, market went lower. I've already got shorts above it anyway. But this trade here didn't work out. If I had the trade entry signal disabled, okay, I would get a signal, a buy signal here, which just, I'll say immediately failed, but failed within, you know, 4 or 5 bars. That would have stopped me out. So I just find overall, it just helps me personally, find better trades, but sort of eliminate those trades where I don't get that follow through order flow. Because, you know, remember, at the end of the day, it's not just about you identifying something happening in the market. Other people also have to be buying or selling, you know, in your direction, because you can identify something, say, oh, this is very, this is very bullish. People say, oh yeah, I got to buy, I'm gonna get in before everybody else. But if there's nobody else coming in, who's gonna move the market up? You buy your 2, 3, 4, 5 contracts, but then nobody else is buying. The market's not gonna go up, because after you buy, you're done. Now you got to sit there and hope that other people are identifying something bullish taking place that they're also going to be buying, right? But if I know that there's something like here, something bearish, and the market sort of tips its hand and say, yeah, there's still some more selling, okay, I could get short here. I could get short here. This one, it took a bit of time for the market to sort of manifest itself, then make its move. Now you could adjust these settings out, right? Normally, most of my indicators, I use 2 and 2. Okay, 2 ticks over the next 2 bars. This one, we got it set a little bit faster at 1 and 1. So it's not leaving much to the imagination. If I were to set it to 2 and 2, maybe there might be a few more signals. But again, you could set it up to 5. Okay, so it means, 5. If I set this to 5, right, trade price level and ticks to 5, the next bar would have to move 5 ticks. Okay, so I don't necessarily recommend that, but you could. If you were to keep it at 1 and set the trade validity in bars to 5, then it's telling you that the market's got to move in your direction at least 1 tick over the next 5 bars. Okay, so now I got a signal here, right? I still don't have a signal here because the market's not moving in my direction. Down here, it's starting to. So it does make a slight difference, however you want to change it. You're seeing a few more signals come in here later in the day, okay? So like here, there was a signal, it might be a little bit hard to see, it's kind of small. There was a bullish signal coming in here, this bar, sort of confirmation bar, but the market didn't go any higher, right? And then it sold off. People say, well, yeah, this nice move up, but at this point, right, if you're getting long in here, 108.95 and a half, pulls all the way back down to 91, I mean, I don't know where you're gonna have your stop. People say, well, can you put your stop at the zone? Yeah, you could. That's one way people use these zones. So you have a little buy signal here, and obviously it comes back down, stops you out. Okay. So like again, people, they'll use the zone as well for stop placement. So sort of the other side of the zone. So your stop is going to be up here or up here, up here. That's why I find these trades. That's why I like to have the zones drawn out, so that when the market starts to move and it just leaves these zones, naked, so to speak, it just, you see them a lot on very big moves. So currencies, I find that the default settings are good. I mean, this is the default setting. This is on, I mean, even though didn't catch anything on the default, on the 1 minute chart here yesterday until later in the day, you had a little sell-off here and a couple other moves coming in here. Let me just set this back to the default 1 and 1 here. Even if you were to go down to, again, not everybody would want to do it, but I know some people that use like a 30-second chart. You could use the default settings on these. On the currencies, there's some nice moves to be had on the currencies yesterday, even the day before, right? In the evening, in the European session, say the evening session, but during Europe hours, you get nice movements on the currencies. Again, this is with the default settings. Again, you could adjust it. I'll show you how to adjust it in a second. Buy right here at the high. People say, well, you gave me a buy up here at the high. Okay, well, you got to have a tight stop. Right? You get stopped out on a trade. It's not the end of the world. There's going to be trades you get stopped out on. Swiss franc is, again, is also a nice market. People say, there's not enough volume on the Swiss franc. Well, there is. I mean, look at these moves here. Right? If you could pick up something happening on the order flow here, really, what's your risk? 112.10 and a half down to just on the other side here at 4 and a half, 3 even. Right, same thing here. Right, and you catch these very big moves. This is, again, this is a 30-second chart. Not everybody's going to be interested on a 30-second chart, but if you're on a 1-minute chart, let's go back to a 1-minute chart, right? Some moves here. Now, again, this was Friday. This Friday, even though it was month end, it's one of those weird Fridays where it's like month end, and you sort of got this holiday. The day before, you had some better movements. Now, let's take a look at bonds for a second here. Okay, because bonds is also a nice market to trade. Hey, why isn't this working here? On ZB, there we go. Now, on the default settings, okay, now there's a couple adjustments you could make on the settings, and now bonds is a good market to explain it on. So this was bonds, yesterday. Okay, now obviously 7:30, you had the data come out, but then later in the day you had a trade here that would stop you out, a trade here that market kept pushing up into new highs and going higher. Now, let's take a look at the settings here, because bonds is a market that, if you were to look at a footprint for the bonds, let's pull up a quick footprint chart here in the bonds real quick, and I'm going to explain something, because really, what the indicator does, what the combo does, is it takes this information off of a footprint chart, okay? And bonds, these slower moving markets like bonds, you get a lot of this, right? Where it's just, two price levels, the bid and the offer is trading bid and offer. Maybe it goes bid and offered higher, doesn't trade anything, or it goes, offered lower but doesn't trade anything on the bid. And it's just basically trading the bid and the offer for, for quite a while. And, even sometimes it's just, trades one price level. But all this information here can be used on it. So when this market is trading a very sideways, I'll say sideways activity, but very constrained, where it's basically just trading the bid and the offer, you're probably going to want to make some adjustments, because something like the POC and the value areas, it's going to be distorted, because if you got literally a bar that trades one price level or maybe two price levels, well, your PLC is going to be that one price level. You only traded one price level, or you trade, one price level, then one tick higher, then basically that one level is going to be where all the volume is. So there's a couple of things you could do. One, you could turn off the PLC filter and value filter. Okay, now you're going to get a few more signals. But again, if you see here, it's coming in, right? It's more signals, bullish signals. Because the problem is, right, like I said, if it's basically trading two price levels, right? Here you can see 126.16, 126.17. One of these two is going to be your price level, or your POC level, right? Just like here, right? It trades two contracts at one price level. At the other, it's just 126.10. You understand that? So it's by disabling the POC filter. Now, again, you could still use the value filter, but again, it's got to realize, right, when you're sort of looking at these value areas, and similar to the POC in the sense where it's just one price level, because if you're looking at the value area of a bar, right, like here, this green bar right in the middle, 54, 90, and 16, well, majority of your volume is going to be right here anyway. So that's going to be your value area anyway. That's going to be your point of control, right? The whole value area is not going to be that, because that'll be all the volume. And spreading out over bars as well is going to sort of give you that same, that same effect, in the sense that it's kind of distorted. So you could disable both of those. So you can see this is with the POC disabled but the value on. But again, it's basically going to give you the same sort of signal. Now, one thing that you can do, right, if you're just using supply and demand filters, you could ramp up the momentum strength a bit here to 6, which would be the highest. You could even choose to change the supply and demand strength a little bit, but that's up to you and the market that you're going to trade. Now you're going to get a few more signals, right? But you're going to see here, right? It's going to keep you basically on the right side of the market most of the time. I mean, you may get stopped out here, but then it's giving you the signal down here to catch these moves up here. Ultra bonds, also a great market to trade. And again, it trades similar to the way 30 years trade. I mean, ultra bonds is basically the new 30-year bond, right? That's why they created the ultra bonds, is because the coupon is more on a 30-year. Now some people might say that that's too many signals for me. Okay, well, you're not trading necessarily every signal unless you're an add-on trader, right? You're going to be trading the first one. If you take this trade, get stopped out, then you catch the nice move here and you catch, the bigger move there. Another way to approach it is POC filters, value filter on, and supply and demand filter off. Okay, people say, why do you want to turn off the supply and demand filter? Is partially because the way the market moves. Again, ultra bonds and bonds, the way it's trading, it's just basically one or two price levels sometimes. And if you're taking off the supply and demand filter, now you're relying more on the market moving away from value, because I'll be honest, sometimes it's hard for people to understand how the market is starting to move away with fresh supply and demand, because it doesn't look like it's moving at all, right? I mean, look at this, it's basically going sideways, right? So picking that up, really what you're looking for, now you're relying more on the shift of the market itself moving away from the balance area, rather than looking for supply coming in or demand coming in. And you can see here, right, this is with the supply and demand filter turned off, as opposed to, again, this is with momentum strength set to 6, but if I have supply and demand, I'll change that back to 4 really quick. But again, this is how the defaults look on the ultra bonds. Okay, see one signal here, nothing happening because of the trade entry signal. If I had the trade entry signal disabled on this market, again, that's maybe something you might want to do simply because this market moves slower, right, where it goes a little bit sideways over a little bit longer period of time. If I had the the trade entry signal disabled, see the signals here, more signals coming in. But for this, for now, I'll just keep it enabled. Okay, so again, this is how it looks with the default settings. Okay, signal here, nothing showing up here or here because of the trade entry signal. Okay, again, on slower markets, you might want to disable it. But if I were to take off supply and demand, now it's basing its decisions, is basing its entries off of the price action, the market moving away from the the established balance areas. And a market that perplexes traders a lot is nat gas. And again, nat gas is something that not everybody's going to be interested in trading, but I always have like a benchmark of how does the order flow look on a market like nat gas, which a lot of traders struggle. Okay, and you can see again Friday is a little bit tough, but again, this is with this is the same setting that I was using on ultra bonds. Okay, I mean, get some signals here. Yeah, nothing special going on there. In the morning, there's a nice sell here, but the day before, right, nice moves up, moves down, moves back up. This big monster move the other day, down, little move up here. Again, nat gas is not something that you'd want to do, but nat gas again is a market that I think you could use sort of the same settings that you would use on, say, bonds or ultra bonds. Supply and demand filter off. Okay, and again, if you want to, since you have the supply and demand filter off, maybe you want to ramp up the momentum strength a bit higher to something like 6. And you could just sort of see how the slight differences come in here. Okay. Now, again, if I were to disable the trade entry signal, because again, it's set pretty tight, now you're going to see basically whenever that combination of settings takes place, right? So it's a little bit more signals catching it on those moves. Now, let's go back to bonds really quick here. Let's do this to me. Normally I'm just able to type it in ZB, but today it's acting all funky on me. All right, so let's go back here to the bonds. All right, so this is bonds, trade entry signal turned off. Now, again, if you want to use trade entry signal, it's up to you. I personally, I'm willing to pass on trades that don't have that follow through order flow, just because I know that without that follow through order flow, I'm going to get into bad trades. It just helps me personally keep me out of bad trades. Again, usually the default I use on a lot of indicators is 2 and 2, but on the combo I got it set pretty quick at 1 and 1. If it was 2 and 2, you can see here, right? It's not giving me this one here. It's not giving me this here. This is with it on, but I'm still, catching some decent moves. This one here, maybe it would stop you out here. Similar move here in the morning. So let's take a look at, ES. A lot of traders. Why is this doing this to me today? ES here. Okay, just give it a second here. ES got a lot of data, so it takes, with the tick replay enabled, it does take some time. I'll get to your questions shortly here, but I sort of want to get through what I want to talk about these markets. Let me just grab a drink of water here. Okay, so this was ES yesterday. You can sort of see these signals here, right? Even from way earlier. Basically it's been bullish the whole day yesterday. Now, again, this is that setting. Again, this is a 1 minute chart with the supply and demand filter turned off. It's with the momentum strength set to 6. If I were to have it set to 4, right, and supply and demand enabled, there's going to be a few less signals. Okay, see up here, it says still calculating right up here. And then that's just because my charts, I tend to load a lot of data on there. So again, you can see from 4 in the morning, there was a buy signal here. Again, no actual signals here. There's one here right ahead of the cash open. And then later in the day, right, as you're coming out of this little bit of a balance area around the 75 area, all the way up into these new highs. Now, again, you could play around with it, right? If you don't want to use the supply and demand filter, just disable it. See how it looks on your chart. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about MNQ because markets like MNQ, MNQ is kind of its NQ, MNQ have their own unique idiosyncrasies to those markets. Okay, because let me just put it on here really quick. It's a little easier to explain, showing you. Now, NQ, MNQ, you tend to get the bars that are very wide, right? I mean, you're talking some of these bars, again, 15,283 all the way up to 99. It's 15 points, and there's days. I mean, we know if you've been around the markets long enough, where you're getting 50-point bars in a minute, even less than a minute. We're in 30 seconds, you can see a 30-point bar. It's insane. So some of these settings, since those bars are kind of wide, let's go into the settings. Okay, so if I was going to use this POC filter, I'd probably turn off. Okay, supply and demand filter. Well, for now, let's keep it off, and I'll just I'd stick with value just to start with. Again, it's one of these things where it's just based off of that market. It's just because the market's kind of volatile. You know, honestly, if you're an MNQ trader, you know, I don't want to say don't get this indicator, but you'd have to play around with the settings a bit more, just because of the volatility in the market. So this is just using the value filter, okay? And again, setting it at 1, which is its lowest, okay? I mean, you're getting signals, but again, remember, this is a volatile market. You know, a short here from 13, you know, all the way down into the 80s, right? Then you get some longs up here. Obviously, you know, before the number, you're not going to trade at the number. This is the cash open here. But once the cash settles down, you know, some nice movements up. You'd actually get, in my opinion, with a market that's as volatile as this, you can actually trade this in the night session. You know, you're getting nice movements that aren't off the Richter scale. You know, like this is a move from say 130, 130 up to, you know, this is 150 here, you know, a 20-point move, whereas during the day, this whole move would be 1 bar. Okay, and again, that was Friday. How did it look on, you know, the day before? Again, you see, this is the problem with a market like NQ is you're talking a bar from 120 all the way down to 65. This is just a bar like this, right? So, you know, even though you're just starting to kick off some bearish order flow in here, you can see with that zone being drawn out, you get that very wide bar, which just sort of screws everything up, in my opinion. That's why I say, you know, these other markets, currencies, bonds, is something that you can trade a lot easier, a lot less stressful. You know, you can catch a move like this, it's fine. You catch a move like that, that's fine. But again, you know, there's plenty of other markets out there to trade. You know, even if, since we're sticking with stock indices, let's go to mini Dow, YM. Okay, so what are the settings here? I think it's just supply and demand. Or sorry, value filter. Okay, now again, sometimes, you know, I suggest to people, if you're just using one filter, ramp up the momentum strength as high as you could go, which is 6. Okay, and you know, maybe you want to up the value strength from 1 to 3 if you're just using one filter. Sometimes using the sort of the strongest setting is going to give you, you know, something a little bit more to lean on, you know. So where's the cash open here? Right here. You get a little short here. You get some longs here. Short catches you offside, but then you catch the rest of the day, 580, you know, all the way up to 680 there. That was a nice move there. Again, if you can, that's with value set to 3. Sort of the YM on the spectrum of stock indices. YM comes in between ES and NQ. Now, if you're just going to use supply and demand filter, okay, you could try that. Maybe you just want to, you know, just use that, set it up to 3, which is sort of the highest. Again, anytime you're just using one filter, maybe you want to set it on the highest. You know, you're going to get a lot of signals, of course, but it's up to you. That's just with supply and demand filter. You know, sometimes when you're looking at the evening session, you know, where markets are a bit slower, you know, people say, oh, you can't trade the night session. There's not enough information. Well, there is. I mean, this was last night at 8 o'clock, not last night, but Thursday night at, you know, 8 p.m., right? At 9 p.m., moved down at 11 p.m. here, right? And people say, well, that's just one day. I mean, this was Thursday's day session here. But again, if you were to look back the night before, Wednesday night, okay, 8 p.m. Now, again, if you're trading stock indices during the evening time. I say evening, I'm in Chicago evening, be Asia day. Do it during Japan hours. That's the most liquid time. But I mean, look at, so that's basically from around 8 p.m. This is 8 p.m. here. At 9 p.m. Look at that. That's a decent move from, worst case scenario, 160 all the way down to the lows here at 140, down to new lows, down to new lows. Yeah, so I'm going to take a look at some questions here. I'm sure there's some questions. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, Abe asks, is they're going to be recording? Yes, there is going to be recording. I'll send it out later today. And one of the things that I'm working on is I'm going to try to put together a little guide. I'm always hesitant to put together guides of settings because then people automatically think that, oh, these are the settings I have to use because this is what Mike says. No, I mean, it's up to you to use that, or maybe you want to adjust it to something that suits your style of trading a bit more. Again, sometimes I put out settings and people think it's written in stone that, it's like the 10 commandments, I have to do this. No, you could use it however you like, but I'll probably work on that this weekend. Abe asks, does it work on ES and QM? Yes, I mean, I just showed you those. Leslie asks, for those of us that have software, I assume you mean Orderflows Trader software. Well, actually, the price that we have it at now, usually when I release a new indicator, it goes out to everyone that has their software first, and it goes out at a reduced price because we're selling it now at $279. After, in a few days after the holiday, I guess, we'll be resetting it at a higher price. Do I need to subscribe to Orderflow package with Ninja? No. You could run this as long as okay. Basically, Ninja Trader's got two versions of their software. They've got the free version and the paid version. When you buy the paid version, it just unlocks a few extra features. Some of them are their order flow package, the cumulative delta, which is just basically like a delta candle, the market depth map, the trade detector, which I believe others bubbles, the volume profile, and their VWAP tool, as well as their volumetric chart, right? Which is you can find it in here, right? Volumetric is their footprint. Now, this combo is designed to run on a normal bar chart. So basically, it's taking everything that you would see here on a footprint and it's distilling it into the signals that you're seeing here, so that you can use it with a footprint or the volumetric if that's how you trade. That's how I trade. But if you don't use a footprint chart, if you don't want to use a footprint chart, if you don't want to go through that analysis, that's why we have this indicator created. So it takes all the information that's taking place here and distills it into simple signals on a bar chart or your candlestick chart. I mean, people don't really use bars; they use candles nowadays. But yeah, you don't need that. But if one of the other major differences, I believe, on the paid version versus the free version of Ninja Trader is the use of ATMs, right? Automatic trade management, right? So like you get long or short in the market, and you will put in your buy stop and your take profit, or your sell stop and your take profit. The free version, you can still trade on it, but just doesn't have that feature as well, which, in my opinion, is something that helps out a lot of traders, is having an ATM. But it will run on the free version. It will run as long as you have a real-time data feed. You do not need level 2 data. You just need the normal data feed. And again, if you have an account with a broker, Ninja Trader Brokerage or wherever, you can get a discounted data feed. Now I've got CME, CBOT, NYMEX, COMEX, Eurex. They've even got level 2 on all of those. But my monthly data fees are about $65 or something like that, $66. If you were to go out and get a third-party data feed, you're going to be paying a lot more, right? Just the CME alone for real-time data feed is like $118, keeps going up. It's a big money maker for these exchanges. So you just need a data feed, NinjaTrader, either the paid version or the free version. I know traders that are using this, they trade markets that they can't access through NinjaTrader, okay? And they just use this as their charting software. You know, people that trade Forex will follow the CME currencies, look for the signals, and they'll execute it in the Forex market on a different platform. So yes, it will run on any version of software. Jared asks, okay, Jared, yeah. Jared asks about the different charts that it'll work on. Yeah, I mean, you know, it does work on, you know, things like Heikin-Ashi charts. Now, you know, when you get into things like Renko charts, like the native default Renko chart on NinjaTrader doesn't use tick replay, so it's not going to work on there. But there are other Renko charts available that you can use that are out there for free. I think the Indicator store has one, Pablo has one that runs with tick replay. Again, this is, what am I looking at here? Mini Dow, but go back to Euro currencies really quick. Heikin-Ashi chart. Again, this is, you know, this is the Heikin-Ashi chart with, well, it's not the default settings, but it's just the supply and demand filters with POC turned off and momentum strength turned on all the way, value filters turned off, right, on a Heikin-Ashi chart on Friday. It does work with markers. I've tested it. I've made a video for people. It's up there. And Bloodhound, I have a user, shout out to Bob, that tested it with Bloodhound and says it works with Bloodhound. I don't use Bloodhound myself. Hang on here, Henry, I see your question. Let me just make a note here. Okay, Henry, yeah, I'll get that sorted out. He's just asking about a license from earlier on his Orderflows Trader. Abe asked, do I have a trade room? No, I don't have a trade room anymore. I don't know, there's in the back of my mind, I'd love to get one started up again, but it just comes down to timing and, you know, trying to make it where, you know, the most people can get the most out of it. Eric asks, tested versus untested. Okay, so tested is these zones until tested and fixed. Okay, it's not tested and tested or until it's just tested or fixed. And what that means is, let's just find one here. Okay, so you see the zone is being drawn out here. Okay, and it stops once the market gets through the other side. If it's a zone where it just sort of comes back and touches it like this bar did here, and then went back up, it would still draw it out. I mean, obviously later it traded through it, but it will stop when it gets to that area, right? Now you see there's these signals where there's no zone because the next bar itself came in and tested the zone immediately. But me personally, I like to use the zones because there's going to be times where you just have these zones that are just left out like this. And it just helps me identify that, hey, you know what, we're in a strong trend up. Then obviously if I got this zone from, you know, this bullish zone that's been going up for quite a while, then all of a sudden comes down and blows right through it. Okay, obviously well, you should be able to identify that things are changing anyway, but it blows right through it. Chances are it's going to go much lower. Another way I like to use the zones is like here, you got a short signal and the market reversed and is trading above it. Okay, well, I have this zone here. It's telling me this zone down here at the bottom. Let me just move this chart up. There's bearish information here, 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 but we're trading above it. So obviously there was some sort of shift in the order flow. And, you know, if anything, I should be looking for longs. right? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I got this short here. I'm going to, you know, the zone, I got to get short, because you know, sometimes you got to change your thinking. Okay, I had the short zone, but we're trading on the other side of it. What is the market telling me? Okay, that's how I use zones. Do I have a template with settings that you're now showing? You just start out the defaults. The default settings is your base. Okay, that's why when we release the indicator, I'm very specific on my programmer on how I want the settings set. So it's not like everything turned off and you got to turn it on and figure out which that is your base setting, the default settings. Okay, then you could sort of take it apart. Like, do I need the POC filter, or do I want to use value filter, or this, or what about the momentum strength? The default is in a sense the template that you're going to start with. ES, yeah, I showed that. Well, ES and MES move for the most part the same, but let me put MES on here. Kalpesh asked, does this work on 1 hour time frame or higher? Well, honestly, I don't trade out over a 1 hour time frame or higher with order flow, simply because, you know, order flow is best taken advantage of as soon as you're starting to see something, you know, develop. That's why, again, I started out this presentation. I did show you on a 30-second chart, but again, not everybody. That's a little too fast for a lot of traders. That's why I show people on a 1 minute chart. But you know, once you start going out an hour or two, you know, even 30 minutes for me is quite long. It really diminishes some of the things that you're starting to see. Now, this is the MES chart from Friday, yesterday. Again, this is the Heikin-Ashi chart. Quite nice, actually. But let me just put it on a normal minute chart. Let's give it a second to come up here. Okay, again, well, let's go back to the default settings here. Okay, so this is a 30-second chart. I need a 1 minute chart, but right, combo, right? So I'm adding it here. So this is the default settings. This is a 30-second chart. Let me go back to a minute chart. Drink some water here. Okay, so this is the default on Friday, right? Not much going on here. Some signals, obviously, early during the European session, or 4 in the morning Chicago time. Not saying that, yeah, you would have bought it here and held it all the way up to here, but this is, again, this is a 1 minute chart. Maybe you want to make an adjustment. Put this up here. If you were to, you know, you could figure out, you know, because again, 1 minute chart on MES. Well, I'll start out with this. POC and value is going to be kind of similar actually on a E-mini chart. I'll just put it on just the supply and demand filter, sort of looking for these shifts in supply and demand. See, it says calculating up here, because right? It's got to go through all the tick data. I think I've got like 3 days loaded on here. This is how it looks on the MES on a 1 minute chart. You know, maybe you want to make the supply and demand filter a bit stronger, go to 3. Momentum strength, you want to make stronger, since you're just leaning on one aspect of it. You know, you change that to 6. This is how you would go through, you know, your own market yourself if you want to see sort of which is the best setting. Again, I'm using the trade entry signal, so it's just, I'm really just focusing on the triangles here, right? So it cleans it up a bit more. Okay. There's no email alerts. This question is, are there audible and email alerts? There's no email alert, but in the setting, there is a sound alert here, right? And in the user guide, it's explained on how to enable it. You just click enable, but go back here, right? Sound alert. enable, you just check it there. Then you just sort of go through, right? There should be one already set up in there. Then, if you want to change it, you'd go into your PC, go into the program files itself under the Windows drive, go to NinjaTrader 8, go to sounds, and you can change it to whatever you want, or add your own in there. Simon asks, is there a big difference between this combo and Market Flow Trader? Well, Market Flow Trader deals with the ratios. This one doesn't. So let's just sort of put it on here. I'll take off the swing filter. Oh, that's market exhaustion. Market Flow Trader. Okay. Enable these here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the colors though, so you can see sort of the differences. I'll change this to cyan. Cyan. The reds I'll change to, yeah, I wish that they had an orange. They don't really have an orange. Their orange looks like weird color. This is orange red, but I'll change it to magenta, cyan and magenta for Market Flow Trader. So I'm curious how these look side by side. I've tested combo with a lot of indicators. I always want to make sure that there's not a lot of overlapping on there. Okay. So let's make sure I don't have the swing filter. Momentum is set to 3. Okay, this one trade entry is set to 2, so slightly different. You actually see you're getting conflicting signal here, along here, along here. This one came a little bit after, this one came a little bit before. You got some buys here, there was a sell. This is the cyan and magenta is the Market Flow Trader. You got one sort of stuck in there here. So slightly different signals, but again, it's reads different things in the order flow. So here it's giving a bunch of signals, but it's not giving anything on the combo. This is the Market Flow Trader here. Right here is sort of mixed in. Here you had a couple. Here this was right before the number. You get it right after the number, your bullish signal. So again, yeah, there's signals, they're based off of completely different things in the order flow. Market Flow Trader sort of analyzes, again, also I got the combo set at just supply and demand filter. So it's kind of a niched down. But Market Flow Trader sort of reads what's happening on the edges of the candles. Combo is more of what's happening inside the candle, like in the heart of the candle, so to speak. Let's go through some more questions here. Mark asks, how many monitors do you have up running this package using tick data? Well, because the second part of your question is, does it slow down your machine? And it doesn't slow down my machine. I've got a lot of charts, like, I don't know if you could see it here, but I mean, even underneath this, I got all these tabs open and I've got 2 other monitors here with a bunch of charts on it. When it's running in real time, there's no, I don't have any delay. This is my trading PC as well. I even have it on my testing PC. This is an i7, this PC, or sorry, an i9. My other testing PC is an i5, and I got a data feed going in there with about 40 tabs open. It's, although that one I also use for a lot of other things as well. This one is just for trading. I have no slowness in my PCs. I do turn off to sort of make it a little bit easier for me. Yeah, the thing that I hate the most about these new versions of Windows and then Microsoft is that OneDrive. I go in and I shut it down. I go into the task manager and shut it down, because that one, it does cause some issues, that OneDrive. I hate that thing, because that will put you know, you can see my CPU usage right now is at 21%. With the OneDrive open, it puts it up at around 40. That alone could be like 20%. But again, I'm not a tech guy in that sense of, you know, monitoring all that stuff. But OneDrive, if you have it enabled, I would disable it. It'll speed things up a bit more. But again, I've got this PC's got, you know, all my PCs, a minimum of 2 monitors. My trading PC's got 3 monitors. You know, just really quick, you know, just to show you, you know, like this is the other one, right? I've got, you know, a bunch of these other screens going on there, and then even on my third monitor up here, right? I got my chart board up here behind, I got my footprint up here, market's closed, so there's nothing going on there, but this is 3 monitor system here. Robert asks, is this like an advanced Delta scalper, but more advanced? Robert, this doesn't deal with Delta at all. So it's completely different than the Delta scalper. Blessing asks, yeah, Blessing, because Blessing's asked about this special rate. Again, you know, whenever we release something new, we like to give people, you know, the action takers, so to speak, you know, at a bit of a discount, right? And you guys know that whenever I release something after the release period, which usually lasts for about a week, that we increase the price, okay? Yeah, Henry, I saw your question. I addressed that. Let me get off this webinar first and take a look for your emails, because I'm not sure if it's in my spam folder or not. Antonio asks, I don't know how it would work on penny stocks, honestly. I'm curious, Antonio. You should send me a couple charts on your penny stocks. Honestly, I don't trade stocks, let alone penny stocks, and I'm always curious on how it would work in other markets. I'm always fascinated by that. Blessing, no, you don't need an additional data feed. Whatever data feed you got, it will work on, okay? Jorge asks, I spent a lot of time on bonds. Does that mean the indicator is working better on bonds than futures like ES and Q? Well, I mean, this is ES. It comes down to the markets that you like to trade. Me personally, I just find markets like bonds and currencies follow order flow better, in my opinion, than markets like ES or MES or NQ. You know, NQ is sometimes you're trading NQ and you feel like you know, just for a couple hours at the end of the session, you're like, felt like you're in a wrestling match with the markets. I just find, you know, markets that move a little bit slower. Maybe I'm an old fart or something, but you know, markets that tend to move directionally are easier to trade. You know, I don't need a market to have this big up, down, you know, a pullback from the high, you know, here is 87.5 all the way down to 74 twice before making that move. You know, a lot of times in the bonds, the markets are just more flowing, no pun intended, but, you know, just move nicely. I just find it's easier to read the order flow. And it's not to say, you know, again, this is MES, you know, there's a lot of nice signals here. This was yesterday that you can take advantage of. Again, it comes down to what you want to trade. I know not everybody trades ES and MNQ. This is the thing that bothers me the most, is that I see people never traded before come to the markets, start trading NQ or MNQ. They don't last very long because they don't understand that that market is not, the volatility that you see in that market is not what you see across all markets. Okay, it's just one of those things where it's unique to itself, and if you're not familiar with it, you just sort of jump into it. It's different. So that's why I do spend time on other markets other than NQ and ES, because I know a lot of traders, they've gone through, you know, they've been trading for a while. They started out with ES or NQ, and then they've been hitting the head with the 2x4, it feels like, until they find a different market that's more suitable to them. But again, you could use this on ES, EM, ES, and Q. I just find it sometimes a little bit easier to show how something works on, a slower market. Yes, this is an add-on, Robin. She asks, she owns Oft. It's not considered an upgrade. It's an add-on indicator like Delta Surge. It is an add-on. Basically, it's reading the order flow for you and then putting it on the chart where you should buy or sell. Thomas asks, where's the question here, Thomas? Not related to the combo. Okay, it's not related to the combo, but this question is possible to build a strategy on strategy with the order flow signals like value, area, buy. Possibly, and if you're using a footprint chart, possibly. Okay, Raj asks, please discuss how you use your trade setup that you on the first slide, PLC value areas, and 2 others, not through settings, but by looking at the order flow. Okay. Well, just really quick, let me just see if I got it. Let me just clean up this footprint chart really quick here. There's a lot of things going on, and let's turn off a lot of these settings. Ratio, turn off this. Use that. Then prints, I'll turn off. Value areas. Volume imbalance. Summary contents. Make sure, because I don't want to have too much going on that's going to confuse you. I'll turn off permanent point controls. Okay, so basically this is your normal footprint. Got the value areas. Obviously it's got imbalances, and you got your point of control. So, what it's going to look for are areas where the market is kind of balancing a bit over, I'll say a certain period, but it takes that into account. Then it's looking for areas that are up at a high, if if supply is coming in, right? So it's going to look at the volumes on the offer side. It's going to look at, how the volume is forming in the bar, right? Like, is it appearing somewhere near the high? Is it being distributed evenly, or is it appearing somewhere near the bottom? And from that, it's going to give you your signals. Again, it's not something that, oh, okay, you got this check, you got that check, you got this check, you buy, because there's a little bit more to it, right? Like, I don't want to go into the exact algorithm of it, or I hate to use that term algorithm, but the exact coding of it, but it's taking into account the imbalances, where they're coming in, right? How the value area is relative to previous value areas. Where's the point of control coming in relative to previous point of controls coming in? How is the price action trading after that, right? So if for example, here, right, you got this area sort of balancing, you got the imbalances, you got this other imbalance, right? Next bar is going up, okay? And he's going to generate a signal for you. But it's looking at those individual things, and it's putting it on your chart for you, so that you don't have to sit there and say, does this point of control matter, or does this value area matter? And not only that, but relative to the previous bars, okay? Nelson asks, is it good for CL? Well, let's pull up CL here. Again, I'll just go back to the default settings really quick. Oh, okay, well, this is the settings that I was using on ES. You can see there's a lot of signals when you're just using supply and demand filter, okay? Now, just go back to default, load it up here. And so these are the default settings. Calculating. Okay, so Friday, nothing off that default setting on Friday. Again, that's just the default setting. The day before, Thursday, nice sell here. Doesn't look like much, you know, but maybe it's coming on this bar here. So if you're getting short, well, this is the bar you'd be getting short on right here. So 69.90 is down here, down, well, it dropped from 69.90 right down here. We're consolidated around the 50s, then dropped another 50 cents here. There was a move here. Again, this is just with the default setting. Day before, again, Friday, there was nothing. The day before, I'm not saying that you could have bought here, held it all the way up, pulls back down to the level, then shoots up, you know, $2. But again, this is just the default setting. And the day before here, it's a short here, sort of came back up, tested it, then sold off. Even here late in the day on, this was the 27th, right? Getting short from around 68.20, 68.15, down below 6,700. If, you know, again, you could adjust the settings how you want. There was nothing really happening on Friday, but if you were going to adjust the settings, I don't know, maybe start taking off POC filter or value, right? You're going to get a lot more signals. Okay, maybe that's too much. Maybe put them back on. Maybe you want to try it without the supply and demand filter. Okay, so this would be just the POC and the values. Yeah, you know, you don't want to be getting long here, here, here. Again, it really depends on what sort of settings you want to use. You know, again, Friday, do the other day, day before, sort of similar trades here. You got a few more sells. There's one here, you know, buy there. That was the day before, 29th. Again, on the, what is that, 28th, you know, that buy signal there, still same one. And the day before, again, similar signals. So, you know, crude, I'd play around with it a little bit, find sort of the optimal setting. You know, maybe I'd use this and the value. This is value filter, supply and demand filter. Turn off if we were to turn off the trade entry signal, or maybe set it a little bit, you know, sort of 2 and 2. You know, a little bit better. That's what the POC filter turned off. You know, it's one thing to set a setting for one particular day and say, oh, you know, this is nice. So then usually you still got to test it with, you know, other days, right? This is 4 in the morning, but US session that moved down, moved back up, you know, with just the default settings, it had this short here and it had this short here. It didn't have this move back up or this move here. And was that 28th? A little back and forth here. Again, this one, man, just pulled back enough to stop you out. So day before, nice moves up here, nice moves down. So again, it really depends on the market and what you want to set at. Robin had asked, thought there was an upgrade coming in June, which was adding momentum to oft indicator. We are working on an upgrade for the Orderflows Trader. It's not June. Usually we release them because the summertime is the time where you know, we work on all this upgrade. We're going to be hopefully we're going to upgrade the oft. It should be out by fourth quarter of this year. That will have a few more features, but that's the Orderflows Trader. Blessing, I don't know if it'll work with Robot Labs. I doubt it because Robot Labs is from Ninjacators and it's kind of closed in the sense of their own indicators on that. Antonio, it's been fairly accurate. Oh, that's good to hear. You should send me some charts, Antonio, so I'd love to sort of build out some of that stuff on stocks. Helmet asks, is combo? No, it's not part of the combo. Is not part of Orderflows Trader 6 package. It's a standalone indicator. Bob says the combo is the best of your indicators, and I've seen most of them. Yeah, Bob, it's we're quite pleased with it. Again, is when how to say it. It's just one of those things where I've never, for some reason, it didn't dawn on me to code it up for a while. But yeah, excuse me. And Bob is the one that tests these with Bloodhound as well, guys. Now Maria asks, how does this compare to Delta Scalper side by side? I don't know. Let's pull it up. Again, this one doesn't deal with Delta at all, so it's one of those where I'm kind of curious to see. I should have changed the colors. That's Delta Scalper here, right there, but just change the colors on Delta Scalper. Just so it's showing different things here. So cyan, magenta for Delta Scalper. Again, I'll just stay on the crude. So Delta Scalper gave a buy here, gave some sells, a sell here right before that. But again, it's, you know, completely different analysis of the order flow. There was a sell here on Delta Scalper. Nothing on, no sell around there on the combo. So again, it just reads different things in the order flow. Blessing S, yeah, it's grains and bonds are so much easier to follow for you since you're not itchy twitchy squirrel and do not drink coffee. Yeah, it's you know, grains. We just had that WASD report, I believe, yesterday. But my opinion, you know, I love grains. Grains are a great market to trade. Now, obviously, just really quick, you had the report come out on Friday. So big move up in the grains. Delta Scalper obviously picked up signal because of the increase in Delta, but this is not a normal movement in grains. But this was the combo coming up here right after that big move or the day before. You know, combo, nice move down. Okay, you get stopped out here. This is right after the open. A little back and forth, but then a nice move. You know, again, you know, people are grains. I don't want to trade grains, but grains, like this is soy meal. Grains, it's $10 a tick. So a move from 394.5 down to 393 is $100. 394.5 down to 390.5. This is a $400 move. Ernie asked, can we switch order flows kind of different PCs if we move the license key? Yep. If you know, anytime you change your machine, tell me and switch over your license. We'll just create a new license token, Ernie. Is there a discount with multiple order license? Yeah, I usually offer a discount for additional licenses because I know some people got 2 PCs like me. I got a traveling PC and I got, you know, my desktop PC, and you know, you travel, you want to follow the markets, trade. Sometimes it's you need another PC, and yeah, I haven't set the page, but it's usually about 50% off on the additional license. Thomas asks, can value areas and ratios be combined in the indicator? No, they can't. And do we have an indicator like that? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. We don't have something like that. In the past, you mentioned, you know, actually, let me just go back to your other question. We do have the value scalper. which deals a lot with value areas. And again, this is, let's change these colors, magenta and, whoops, no, that's going to be magenta. This is going to be cyan. Value scalper deals with value areas here. That might be a good, that would be something that we could actually add ratios to. So like, you catch that move there. Some of these moves going up. But yeah, at the moment, not. Range, okay, so a question that came up about range-based charts. So let me just clean up this a bit here. This will be the last question because we've been going on for about an hour and a half. I don't want to keep you guys on all morning, but let's just change it back to the defaults, okay, and go back to the bonds. And the 4 range charts. Okay, so this is the defaults on the 4 range. Now, of course, any day you get a big trend day like this, you want to be on the trend. I mean, that was nice. Friday, you had, most of the night on Friday, from the reopen till 4:30 was, till the number came out was here. Then you get the big movement. The day before is just nice to move down. Again, that's with the defaults. With the market like the bonds, there's a couple ways to trade it. Either you can take out the POC and value if you wanted. I don't know how it's going to look. It's a little bit more movements here, so you get a few more signals. Again, it's still, even though the whole day is down for the most part, it's just that one bullish signal here, one bullish signal there. Another way to do it, bonds, disable supply and demand, and have the POC filters on, POC values on. Right, again, right here on Friday, getting a few movements up. Yeah, anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap things up here. It's, we do have that special price right now, 279. It's gonna be up there for at least probably until after the 4th of July, the 5th or something. Because again, I know it's still, there's a lot of people traveling, or it's the 4th of July weekend, right? We're supposed to chill out and relax. So trading markets is not necessarily on everybody's focus. But again, just go to orderflows.com combo. Here, I'll just pull up the URL. But like I said, when we increase the price, it's going to go up probably to, I think it was 379 or 397, right? Just look here, right? You can see the charts. You just go right through there, 279 for now. So anyway, guys, thanks for taking the time out this morning. And again, if you get it and you find something interesting, by all means, feel free to share it. Yeah, just one other thing, something I'm working on right now. It's taking up a lot of my extra time. Is I'm trying to build like this community thing, and for order flows for all you guys, that you can go in, you can post your charts, you can share it with other, because I know a lot of you guys want to connect with other traders, because people that trade grains want to talk to other people that trade grains, or people that trade bonds want to talk with other and share their charts, etc. I'm hoping to get that up going in the next few weeks. It sounds easy building this community. I know people have like Discords and Telegrams, and problem is that it's easy to get lost in those things, in the sense of people that trade grains aren't going to be interested in these other markets. So it's going to give like certain sections, people that use just order flow, or people that use this indicator can post in, and things like that. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks that'll be completed. So have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.